The Indianapolis Colts have a big season ahead of them with high expectations. So, who is the most important player for the Colts in 2024? Which rookie will have the greatest impact? And who is under the most pressure to perform this season? Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Horseshoe Huddle Podcast presented by Fan Nation on SI.com, part of the Fans First Sports Network. My name is Andrew Moore, and as always, I'm joined here by my fellow analyst and co-host at Horseshoe Huddle, Drake Wally. Drake, minicamp is right around the corner. Literally starts tomorrow on Tuesday. But before that, we can look a little bit farther ahead to the 2024 season and kind of make some predictions. So tonight's going to be a really fun episode as we reveal which players we think fit these superlatives and these specific topics as we head into a 2024 season that could see the Colts back in the playoffs.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a lot. Even writing about, the Ring of Honor news today with Dallas Clark, it made me realize, the Colts have come a long way. I mean, they've had some years where you're just really unsure about this team, and this is probably the most complete I've seen the roster in a long, long time, man. I mean, even the young people, even the younger guys that don't have all the experience, you're still thinking, what is the ceiling with this guy? Especially how's he going to mesh with the system, with the coaching? So I just think that it's going to be so much fun to kind of categorize each one of these superlatives. Who do we think is going to be, the guy? And I'm sure we're going to disagree on multiple, just because there's so many answers for these. And chat, please throw yours in the chat too. We want to discuss this with you guys as well.
Yeah, and that's what's going to make this episode tonight a lot of fun. It's going to be very interactive, very back and forth, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go through the 2024 superlatives for the Indianapolis Colts. And like Drake said, chat, make sure you're throwing in your superlatives, who you think fits each topic that we're going to talk about tonight, and we'll get you posted up on the screen live here during the show. Truett, as always, getting us started off hot with a super sticker. Truett, you're one of the good ones. You're an absolute G out here. So Truett, thank you so much for the super sticker and all of your support. He says greatest impact, Anthony Richardson's having a full season of work. Most pressure, Alec Pierce. And then the biggest surprise, the backside of the defense, the secondary. So already Truett is on top of things. Thank you so much for all of your support as always. DSG Goodbar is in here. Good evening to you, good sir. Sean Contwright as well. Thank you all so much. And as everyone begins to trickle in, be sure to go follow us on all of our socials if you haven't done so already. Go like Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, follow at Colts on FN on X, and subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle YouTube channel. Hit that bell so you know when Drake and I go live every Monday and Thursday night all throughout the summer. We're going to continue to bring you content, even though the Colts won't be doing anything after this week until the end of July. Drake and I are still going to be here for you, providing you Colts content through the dog days of the summer when there's no football going on. So make sure you're subscribed and have those notifications turned on. And then for the podcast side of things, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen, we're on there as well. So make sure you subscribe, give us a 5-star review. And so that way you can also listen to our audio only episodes, the Horseshoe Huddle Halftime. Those are a lot of fun as well. So make sure you subscribe, give us a 5-star review so we can reach other Colts fans just like you. So Drake, let's dive right into it. The Colts superlatives for the 2024 season. And there's going to be a lot of different topics here tonight. And like you said, I think when you talk about like some of the topics we're going to talk about tonight, obviously most important players on offense and defense, who the biggest surprise is going to be, the rookie that we think can make the greatest impact, the biggest storyline of the 2024 season, what will that be? You can really go so many different ways with all of this. And there's so many different angles you can do with this. And a lot of players, multiple players, can really fit each one of these categories. You're on mute.
Man, I thought to myself, I'm not on mute. I'm good. So that was fun. So it's just, there's so many different areas that this team had to improve. You had to improve with pressure. You had to improve with cornerback play. You had to improve with safety depth and offensive line depth, and just overall, just trying to stay healthy, which I know sometimes you can't really help, but there's just so many like bright sides now for the Colts. I think that heading into this training camp, heading into this offseason is definitely the most positive I've felt about the roster as a whole. And like we said, each one of these we're going to go down. There's probably 3 to 4 to 5 people you could plug in. But I can't wait to get into this just because I think that it's going to be hard for us outside of the obvious 1 or 2 to get the same answer. So I'm pumped to talk about this.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. CJ, good to see you, my good sir. Always a pleasure having you join us live here. Wyatt Law, agree with Drake that this Colts roster is the most complete in memory. Perfect question mark? No, I wouldn't go that far. But Wyatt says, what NFL team doesn't have any question marks entering the season? And that's true. You know, there's always question marks entering the season for every single team, whether it's the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers, or when you're talking about the Carolina Panthers. All from top to bottom, there's question marks with every single team. But Drake, let's dive right in here in our first topic: most important offensive player for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, well, you can go a couple of different ways. I really think that there's probably one big answer, and if we agree on this one, it wouldn't surprise me. But Drake, who is your most important offensive player for the Indianapolis Colts?
I am going to go with Michael Pittman Jr.
Okay.
And the reason I'm doing this is because if Anthony Richardson goes down and you have Joe Flacco out there with a full wide receiver core, you could probably still get by. If Anthony Richardson doesn't have Michael Pittman Jr., it's a little bit different. I just cannot forget that Falcons game. Gardner Minshew was able to find consistent targets throughout the season, but when he did not have Michael Pittman out there, it was a freaking nightmare. I can't imagine Joe Flacco being less mobile and older would do any better. So it's like Pittman's so important. I think that you really need Pierce to take that next step. Josh Downs is on the up and up, and A.D. Mitchell has just an unreal amount of potential, okay? Arguably the biggest, most explosive weapon the team has outside of Richardson. So I just think that right now, here and now, you're talking about it's a passing league. I know the Colts like to run the ball, but you have to have that reliable receiver. And it's just been no one else but Michael Pittman. So until proven otherwise, I just think you have to have him out there.
That's an interesting take because, you know, I do think that Michael Pittman is crucial for this offense, but I also think that you're going to see guys step up. You know, I think we're going to see another step from Josh Downs. I think we're going to see a more consistent threat from Josh Downs. That knee injury really hampered him towards the end of the year. That's all good to go now. So it wouldn't surprise me if Josh Downs takes another step and becomes an even more lethal threat for this offense. And, you know, if say Anthony Richardson does go down, Joe Flacco comes in, I don't think that there will be such a drastic fall off that there was, you know, between like when Gardner Minshew was in for Alec Pierce, simply because Joe Flacco can still sling the football all the way down the field. He's going to continue to have that deep ball. So Alec Pierce will definitely be involved there. Love this from Wyatt Law. He says his most important player, Ryan Kelly, because if he doesn't snap the ball, nothing happens. Of course, Ryan Kelly of course, Wyatt is joking about Ryan Kelly.
But that's literally true.
It is. I mean, if you're going the literal aspect of it, Wyatt is right on there. But Drake, for me, I'm sorry, I'm going to take the cop-out answer because I really think it is so obvious. It's Anthony Richardson. You know, yeah. Anthony Richardson is the most important player for this team, bar none. You know, you've put all of your eggs into the Anthony Richardson basket. You saw what he was able to do and what he was starting to come into his own through the first quarter of the season. And then to have that injury just stop it dead in its tracks. But Anthony Richardson feels like he's healed up. Today he was on the Pat McAfee show and he said he felt 95%, not really because of healing. He's 95%, just that he's, you know, knocking some of the rust off of things still because he wasn't able to throw for 4 months. So, you know, but Anthony Richardson, this team is built for Anthony Richardson. Everything that they've done all off season, just keep continuity with this team. You add Adonai Mitchell, you're adding things to the run game. You sign Jonathan Taylor to a long-term deal to pair him with Anthony Richardson. You re-sign Michael Pittman Jr. to give Anthony Richardson a wide receiver one of the top 15 to 20 wide receivers in the entire NFL in Michael Pittman Jr. So this Colts team is going to go as far as Anthony Richardson takes them at the end of the day. We could talk about all these other positions and all these other players and their impact, and that is important, but the quarterback is still the most important position in football, and Anthony Richardson ultimately is going to drive the success of this team.
Yeah, and look, that I just didn't want to go with Anthony Richardson,
Understandable.
But I will say, while Michael Pittman's huge, I mean, even if Richardson's in that game against the Falcons without Pittman, just how dynamic he is, it could really change everything. I mean, you could have a lesser receiver core and have a guy that's that scary with the ball in his hands, and they could probably find ways to get open. I mean, so I agree with you. I think that it's a completely different offense with Flacco and Richardson. So the hope is obviously 17 games from Richardson in 24.
Absolutely. Now let's switch sides. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball, Drake. Most important defensive player for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, you could talk about the best player in DeForest Buckner. You could talk about, Zaire Franklin and what he does at the linebackering group. You could talk about, Julian Blackmon, because currently outside of Julian Blackmon, there's a lot of question marks around safety. But for me, I'm going to, maybe this is outside the box, maybe not. I'm going with Juju Brents. I think Juju Brents is the most important defensive player for the Colts this season because, you want Juju Brents to stay healthy and he needs to take that jump. He needs to solidify himself in year 2 that he can be a very reliable to very good starting cornerback on the outside for the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts made 0 moves at cornerback in free agency. You're running it back with the same trio of Juju Brents, Kenny Moore II, and Jalen Jones. You get Dallas Flowers back from that Achilles injury, and he's certainly going to factor into that. But the Colts are taking a chance here by not adding more proven veteran talent at cornerback. They believe in Juju Brents. They love the flashes that he showed last season. I think Chris Ballard got kind of sick of saying it this offseason when talking about Juju Brents, saying he just needs to stay healthy. So far he has stayed healthy all throughout the spring workouts, throughout OTAs and into minicamp, which he did not last year, and he's already said that these reps are been so valuable, and he already feels so much farther ahead than he did at this point last offseason. Juju Brents can take that step up. It's going to make the front office look really, really smart, and it's going to just reinforce that the Colts now have another really good option there at the cornerback position with Kenny Moore II.
Yeah, and I love that answer about Juju Brents because while he might not be the top corner right now, that's what they drafted him to be. Because Kenny Moore's been on the team since like 2018. I mean, he's not going to be around forever, and he's approaching 30. So, I mean, when he's done, or he's like more of the veteran role now and more of the Stephon Gilmore guy at that point, then you are looking for Juju Brents to have already hit that stride as your cornerback 1. So I love that. In the 9 games we saw from him, hey man, the guy showed promise. Did he show some issues with adjusting to speed? Yes, but I mean, he was also a rookie who played half the season, and he had to be thrown into a really difficult game at the end of the year. So mine's going to be a little bit more lame, kind of cliche, kind of like ho-hum, but it's DeForest Buckner. 52 pressures, man. The guy just as a defensive tackle leads the team in pressures. He gets another 8 sacks. He just does it. Week in, week out, he's going to show up, and when he's not in there, it is a nightmare. Now, I will say I love that Raekwon Davis is on the team because if you need to even switch him out, give him a breather, give Stewart a breather, you've got a big body in there that's not going to let you down. Okay, not a pass rushing specialist. You'll see Taven Bryan only in on 3rd and long. I can promise you that. So I just still think that when Buckner's not out there, it's a big you're just missing a lot, and he just gobbles up double teams. He makes the whole defensive front better, and he is one of the biggest reasons that they had 51 sacks last season as a team. So I like him to just continue to be that rock. I don't see it changing, but hey man, if Juju Brents steps up, man, you're looking at your future cornerback 1, which in a passing league that could be equally as important.
Right. And I mean, DeForest Buckner is kind of like my Anthony Richardson answer because you can't go wrong with DeForest Buckner because it's absolutely true. DeForest Buckner is the defensive MVP for this team, and he's been the best defensive player on this team since he got here in 2020. Our colleague and the GOAT, Noah Gobert, Jalen Jones, he's riding the Jalen Jones train. Love to see it.
Dude's a dog, man.
Yeah. Hey, Jalen Jones turns out to be a really good, solid starter, starter. It makes Noah look like a genius. Absolutely. Good to
That's
see
right.
you, buddy. Tim Rio says Grover Stewart. He says the run stopper. They were so without him. Very, very
That
true.
is true.
Grover Stewart definitely has a
Point.
big impact. Wyatt Law is on the Juju Brent strain. Juju has to be the most important defensive player. Rich Wheeler going whoever starts at free safety. Another one, so that's going to be interesting too. Will it be Nick Cross, who currently looks like it would be the starter there at free safety, or does we get someone else, a surprise like a Daniel Scott? Rodney Thomas II is still there as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see who ends up getting that starting spot at free safety. Drake, now let's move to our biggest surprise. Who do you think is going to be the biggest surprise of the 2024 season for the Indianapolis Colts?
This one was really freaking hard. I wanted to say Jalen Jones just because I just think he's going to keep getting better, but I'm going to go with Daniel Scott.
Okay.
I'm going with safety Daniel Scott. I think you're seeing a very capable special teamer. First off, this is a guy who is going to make plays on special teams. He's also incredibly versatile. He's really experienced for not playing one single NFL snap. And the guy can do a lot of things at free and strong safety. He is just so versatile. I cannot imagine a healthy Daniel Scott not having some kind of role on this defense by the midseason point. I think he's at least going to grab 2 interceptions. I really like the way that he plays the ball. I like how physical he gets. I like him in coverage sets, kind of similar to how I would really like Jalen Carley's, at linebacker. I think that he's going to grab 2 picks. Those are the guys right there that I think that they can really thrive in roles, what would you call it? Role player positions, and just kind of be more coverage guys to start out. But I just think Daniel Scott, while he's a little older, I think that he's got a good upside, and I think he's going to show it in 24 if he stays healthy.
Well, you've been on Daniel Scott for quite a while. You from the very beginning, you thought he could really, really have a role on this team, and unfortunately tore his ACL in OTAs in rookie mini camp last year. So he really his rookie season was halted before it even got started. But Daniel Scott has been impressing in OTAs. He already has an interception of Anthony Richardson. He's been getting some run with the first team offense, getting rotated in there at that free safety spot. So it may seem a little out there right now, but that's why that's the biggest surprise. Daniel Scott really could have a bigger role than people think on this defense once we get to the fall. And I'm gonna go kind of in that same realm, and it's a guy that you actually mentioned when you were talking about Daniel Scott, and that's Jalen Carlyle, the linebacker or the safety turned linebacker, the rookie out of Missouri. So because I think his coverage ability is just something that is not available or has been missed at this with the linebacker position for the Colts for the past couple of seasons. And that's no slight to Zaire Franklin, to EJ Speed. Both those guys are very talented, very talented linebackers. But the proof is kind of in the pudding. They just don't generate interceptions. They don't generate turnovers in the passing game. So when you're talking about that and you're missing those added turnovers that someone like Shaquille Leonard provided for the Colts for year after year after year, Jalen Carlyle can hopefully be that solution. You bring EJ Speed in, you have him in there on the running downs or on the first, second down. If Carlyle comes in on third down to bring an added, dime linebacker look and just bring that coverage ability, I think Carlyle can have a bigger impact than people think. And I'm right there with you, Drake. It would not surprise me if by the end of the season we see Carlyle with 2-3 interceptions or something like that and have a really big impact on this Colts defense. And who knows, maybe start to try to push a guy like EJ Speed, who's in a contract year as well, push him for reps at that will linebacker spot. And then you're kind of faced with the decision after the season. Do you re-sign EJ Speed, or do you opt for the younger maybe higher upside of Jalen Carlyle? We'll have to see. So, but I'm very high on Carlyle, and I think he's already shown in OTAs and through the spring is that he's going to be on the field sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and I mean, you're talking about 9 interceptions in 3 freaking seasons at Missouri. I mean, it played 4 total, but he was a defensive back when he started in college. I mean, this is a guy who's like 6'3", 210 pounds or something like that. He fits perfectly for that coverage role, and he's getting coached by a guy that literally had 5 interceptions in one season and had his lone Pro Bowl, and that's Cato June. All right. Perfect fit, because you're talking about Cato June switched from safety too. You wrote about this. I mean, this really could be huge. Like, I put in my bold predictions piece for the rookie class that he's going to get 3 interceptions or more. Now, I think that's pushing it, but he could do it. He's got the skills to do it. He's got the coaching to do it, the scheme to do it, the guys around him to do it. I think that I love that. I think that could be a really good pick for the Colts.
Well, let's see what the chat is saying. Tim Rio says Evan Hull. I like that one. See if Evan Hull can get some run with the offense there as that receiving back. And Noah is on the Hull train with Tim Rio there, or Tim Rio, I guess I should say. Rich Wheeler saying Anthony Gould on return duty for some highlight plays. Yeah, I think though the return game as well, can't forget about that, is going to be bigger than ever. James Crawford also says Gould as a receiver and kick punt returner will surprise as an extremely important player. CJ with Jalen Carlisle right there with me on the Carlisle train. DSG Goodbar. Biggest surprise will be Leatu Latu. He's going to have a great rookie season, better than expected. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And then here's one we didn't really talk about. Charlie Partridge will love working with Adetomowa Adebaware, and so that's why it lost surprise of the 2024 season. Now, Drake, we're kind of piggybacking. I just talked about Jalen Carlisle, the rookie. Now the rookie who will have the greatest impact in 2024, and I'm not going with Carlisle here. While I do think Carlisle will have a big impact, I think it comes down to one of the top 2 to 3 picks, or one of the top picks for the Colts. And I gotta go with Leatu Latu. I do think that Adonai Mitchell will have quite a big impact on the offense, but I just think it's going to be too tough to keep Leatu Latu off the field. I think he is going to be there. I think he's going to be ready to take over one of the starting defensive end positions by the end of the season. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And this is why I didn't put him necessarily on my biggest surprise of the season, because if Leatu Latu goes out there in his rookie season and gets 10, 11, it gets double-digit sacks in his rookie year, that wouldn't be a surprise to me, just because when you turn on the film, he is such a menace rushing the pasture. He's so polished. He has so many moves that he in his bag, in his repertoire, that he can go to. He has multiple counters available to him. And again, he reminds me of someone like a TJ Watt, of a Trey Hendrickson, just absolutely relentless at the point of attack, and a guy that it's inevitable he will get after the quarterback. So in my opinion, it may be a cop-out answer because he was the 15th overall pick, but Leatu Latu is going to be the rookie that has the biggest impact in 2024.
Yeah, no, guys, think about this. All right, I know that everyone's been, really excited about Latu's sack numbers and pressure numbers, and he's got all this agility and bend and just all these moves. This man is still 6'5", 260 pounds. I mean, still huge. Okay. And actually, even though he was otherworldly defensively overall and against the pass, he was also a solid run defender. And he had over 20 tackles for loss in 1 year. Okay. 1 year. So that means every single game this man was in that backfield, just causing hell for opposing running backs. And there's even tape where you see within like a second, he's already off the tackle going after the quarterback. This guy's a menace. So the Colts got the best, they feel like the best player in the whole draft on defense. So I'm picking Latu. I think that Mitch, like you said, Mitchell has a lot of allure. I love the Gonsalves picks. I pick, and the Bortolini picks. Abraham has some intrigue, but when you talk about day one, first game impact and on, it's Leatu Latu. And if he gets over 10 sacks, I mean, you're looking at potentially arguably one of the best defensive edge rushers the Colts have had. Now, it's way too early to coin him that, but I think that this is probably the most excited in years, just like the whole roster that Colts fans have been about an edge rusher.
And when you look at the defensive rookie of the year odds, Leatu Latu is right there at the top so Vegas certainly thinks that Latu is going to have a pretty impactful rookie year as well. Noah coming in with the hot take of Keaton Slovis. Hey, we'll even see if he makes the roster. He's going to have to beat out slinging Sammy Ellinger for that one.
Which he's the best during preseason.
He is. Sam Ellinger in the preseason is Joe Montana light. People forget that. So
that's right.
That'll be a fun quarterback 3 competition to watch in training camp. Yim says, I agree about Latu. He might have been arguably the most pro-ready player in the draft. Definitely. I think defensively, a lot of teams thought that it was really just the medical that caused him to slip all the way to 15. DSG Goodbar, I think Anthony Gould will have the greatest impact, based being a special teams ace and contributing as a slippery receiver. If Gould goes out there and gets multiple return touchdowns, you can see that argument. And then he adds that backup slot ability to Josh Downs. Rich Wheeler says, I hope Latu sticks it on Stroud early. AD Mitchell will impact our red zone threat. Definitely. I could see both of those. And CJ Stroud, again, in the news talking about the Indianapolis Colts. So it's going to be a fun week 1 matchup. That's for sure. All right, Drake. So from the rookie that will have the greatest impact to now the player facing the most pressure this season. Now, this is an interesting one. Because I think you can go multiple different ways with this. You could go guys on both sides of the ball, offense, defense, just depending on who you think is either pushing them for snaps, their time is running out for them to prove themselves. So I'm very interested to see who your pick is for this. So who do you think is the Colts player facing the most pressure in 2024?
Man, you know what? I think it's Nick Cross.
Okay.
I think it's Nick Cross, man. I know he's young. He's also going into year 3. I don't care if he started 18. It's year 3.
Mm-hmm.
You are expected to be at least close to ready. Or at least that kind of like a year 3 development. But Cross has so many skills. He has so much potential in this defense, but I just don't think that he has done enough to be a legitimate starter. Now, I think that right now the Colts not really pulling the trigger on Diggs, not really pulling the trigger on a guy like Justin Simmons yet. I think that shows that they want to give Cross a chance. I also think they like Daniel Scott. I think that they like certain areas of their safety room. Could they probably still use a veteran, of course, but I think Nick Cross has to answer the call this season, or else you're going to start looking at a potential bust, and they'll start telling themselves, well, we shouldn't have traded up for this guy.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I didn't have Nick Cross on my radar, but it does make sense, because he is entering year 3. And he hasn't proven that he can't be that starter for the Indianapolis Colts when he's been given the opportunity. Last year was certainly a lot better than his rookie season.
Oh yeah,
but still a lot to improve on, especially if he wants to solidify one of those safety spots for years to come. And he's still very young, only 22 years old. Maybe this year, 3rd year in Gus Bradley's scheme. Maybe if the Colts, because in the past the Colts have played him at both safety spots, they played him down the slot. Maybe if they just focus Nick Cross on playing the free safety spot, that will help. But I do think that's one that maybe not a lot of people are thinking about, but it's a very good one, Drake. And again, you can go multiple ways with this because Yim saying, is Pierce fair for this? Alec Pierce, I think, is definitely an option here, because AD Mitchell is already pushing him for that X wide receiver, those snaps. Dio Dangbo entering a contract year. Kwity Paye, although his 5th-year option was picked up, you could say, Paye really needs to pick it up and solidify himself for the future. But for me, I'm going with another 3rd-year player, Drake. This guy missed all of 2023, so he really doesn't have much tape to go off of, and it's in a very crowded room, and that's Jelani Woods. I think that this is a very, very big year for Jelani Woods because, he shows all that promise in his rookie season, even with how terrible that Colts offense was in 2022. We had such high hopes for Jelani Woods heading into last season. And then the hamstring injuries. Couldn't even play a single down in the regular season last season. So when you take that into account, this new coaching staff before the spring and OTAs and workouts hadn't really even seen what Jelani Woods could bring to the table. Now that they are starting to see this, you're hearing Shane Steichen talk more and more about Jelani Woods, about his how he can be a vertical threat in this offense, and how he's such a mismatch anywhere you line him up. The Colts have some plans for Jelani Woods. Shane Steichen is starting to figure out ways to use Jelani Woods. And if he can continue his really strong start here in the spring, carry it over to training camp, and then carry it over into the regular season and really start producing, really develop a chemistry with Anthony Richardson and start going out there scoring touchdowns, being that difference maker all over the field, then I think you're looking at Jelani Woods being tight end one. But those other tight ends aren't just gonna give it to him. Kylan Granson's in entering the final year of his deal. Drew Ogletree still out there and shows a lot of promise. Will Mallory even showed some flashes. So he's got a lot of competition in that tight end room that he's going to have to overcome first before he can see those snaps on the field.
Yeah, and when you think about a guy that is as big as Jelani Woods is and can move like he can and has just the catch radius that he's got and the athleticism. He's bigger than Travis Kelce. He's bigger than Darren Waller was. I mean, the dude is 6'7" and he runs like almost a 4.5 40. I mean, he's so quick and sudden. He's fast right away. So I'm telling you, they better have plans for Jelani Woods, because if you don't, you're potentially missing a guy that could really be we have no idea what the hell he's going to be, though. That's the crazy part, because you only saw just a little over 20 catches in 2022. So I absolutely love that pick. And I think that if Jelani Woods can finally hit that stride, man, boy, that'll make a lot of Colts fans happy, because they haven't really had a solid tight end in quite a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. DSG Goodbar saying most pressure to him is Julian Blackman. Blackman in a 1-year deal at that strong safety spot. That's a sneaky good one. And as Noah says here, lots of big ones. Will Fries, Jelani Woods, Samson Ebukam, Kwity Paye, all of them have pressure on them. Rich Wheeler, agree with Drake. Nick Cross, for me, last line of defense is so important. CJ says Ryan Kelly is my offensive player with the most pressure. Can he stay healthy all year? If he can, I think it's a foregone conclusion that Ryan Kelly will be back on another deal. And then Noah says Will Fries is probably my number one choice. Contract year, and they just drafted 2 rookies that could replace him. He either exceeds expectations or he's hitting the market. Very well said there, Noah. Drake, let's go to another topic. Let's look at some guys that could break out. Best chance to break out in the 2024 season. And this is one where you can go multiple different ways, because there are a lot of guys that are on the cusp of breaking out. But to me, Drake, I don't know if this would be considered a breakout. Maybe it would be considered a breakout, maybe nationally, because I know a lot of Colts fans know about him, but maybe outside of that, he's not very well like talked about in national circles. I'm going Josh Downs. I think Josh Downs is my best chance to break out, and because Josh Downs, without Anthony Richardson last season and with a knee injury hampering him towards the end of the year, still broke the rookie record for receptions for the Colts and yards. So you talk about that, with getting Anthony Richardson back and having that connection there, I think Josh Downs could be looking at, a season over 1,000 yards. He could double his touchdowns from a year ago from 2 to 4, get close to 80, 90 catches on the season even. I'm going to go Josh Downs. I think he's going to have a really big year too.
Yeah, I absolutely love that answer, because you already saw some of that last year. I mean, he broke the Colts rookie record for most catches. I mean, he broke literally 2 Ring of Honor members and 1 Hall of Famer in Marvin Harrison. So I love that answer. I wanted to say Anthony Richardson, but then I thought to myself, he's got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy first, okay? Regardless of 4 games or not, regardless of the shoulder injury, repair or not, he had multiple injuries. So this was so difficult, but I really do think that you are going to see a truly special season from EJ Speed. I think that EJ Speed, I already think Zaire Franklin's broke out. I mean, holy crap, has the guy broken out. And the fact that he gets disrespected is just crazy to me. But EJ Speed, so he's improved in coverage. He's improved just in overall pursuit. And he's just getting even more and more deadly at getting into opposing backfield, stopping the run. He's probably their best, maybe not the best, but definitely a top 3 run stopper on the whole defense. And I just love his attitude. I love how him and Zaire have the Trenches podcast. They're best friends. They're in the same freaking core. They're on the same team. They're bringing in a guy like Jalen Carley's. I just think that, then you got, Saguna Luby, you got Grant Stewart. That's a cool linebacker core. That's a cool room they got going on there. And I just think that, since Zaire Franklin's already blown up, why not the guy who they chose, I hate to say it, but they chose over Shaq Leonard, and that's EJ Speed. I think that the Colts got a lot of faith in him, and I do too. I've seen him put on some really good performances, and I don't think 2024 is going to stop that.
That's a very interesting answer, and I'll be interested to see, how EJ Speed can take his game to the next level as well. The chat, we're getting a lot of the same answer, and it's Jelani Woods. Patrick, the CFO, making his nightly appearance. Great to see you, buddy. Patrick says, with the Steichen system and a full health year, Jelani Woods is going to be nationally known, especially in fantasy this season. Honestly, Patrick, that wouldn't surprise me because we thought that Jelani Woods was going to be a breakout and a candidate last season and have a huge season. So it wouldn't surprise me if he stays healthy, if that actually comes to fruition this season. Wyatt Law saying Trey Sermon might break out this season as running back too. He has shown flashes, and now he gets his shot with Moss moving on, especially if an injury does happen to Jonathan Taylor. Trey Sermon is that next running back up for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, Drake, let's talk about the player who will benefit the most from Anthony Richardson's return, and this is assuming Anthony Richardson plays all 17 games. We're not going to say if he's healthy or if he's not healthy. If Anthony Richardson plays all 17 games, who do you think benefits the most? It can be a running back, a wide receiver, a tight end, whoever. Who benefits the most from number 5's return?
Oh, man. I mean, you could say Jonathan Taylor, but he did fine with Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
He literally put on a season performance right at the end of the year in the most important game. Alec Pierce is an easy one here, but I'm going to go. Oh, man. I'm going to go with Kylen Granson.
Okay.
I'm going with Kylen Granson because Richardson loved throwing it to him. Loved targeting him, just loves targeting the tight ends. But Granson is interesting because while he might not have the size and overall just tight end 1 on paper of Jelani Woods or the ridiculous hands and speed of Will Mallory, the guy is an elite separator and he will not be stopped in coverage. I mean, he is very good at getting away. And I think that Richardson in year 2, Steichen's play calling, get the ball out quick, get in a rhythm. That's Kylen Granson. That's going to be the guy. And I think that really until Richardson started throwing him the ball last year, you didn't see Kylen Granson really get a lot of those big plays. He started actually stretching the field a little more with Richardson throwing him the ball. So I think all the tight ends will benefit from his return, but I think that Kylen Granson more than anybody because he was honestly kind of lighting it up until Richardson went down.
And he's going to need it too. Like I said, contract year for Kylen Granson. There's no guarantee that he is going to be back next season, especially when you have Will Mallory waiting in the wings. Jelani Woods could potentially ascend. Drew Ogletree is there. This could be it for Kylen Granson. And even so, if this is his last season with the Colts, he needs to go and show out so he can, go get his bag in free agency as well. And Drake, you already mentioned who the easy answer would be. A lot of people in the chat are saying it too.
That's still a good answer.
Like Patrick, Alec Pierce, full stop. Wyatt Law going with Alec Pierce as well. Rich Wheeler. And honestly, that's who I'm going with. It's Alec Pierce, Drake. I think it has to be Alec Pierce. That, we all saw how much Pierce struggled last season just because strictly he wasn't getting the opportunities with Gardner Minshew throwing him the football. Their strengths did not match. Gardner Minshew likes to get rid of the ball quickly and underneath to his receivers. Alec Pierce needs a guy that can throw it deep, can throw up that jump ball, and a guy that can hold the football a little bit longer so that way Pierce can get down the field. That's what he does best. And that's why the fit with Anthony Richardson is so natural. Now, yes, Adonai Mitchell is going to get his opportunities. Him and Alec Pierce are going to end up splitting reps. They're at that X wide receiver position. You don't take a guy in the second round for him to sit the bench the whole year, and AD Mitchell has already shown he excels in different areas than Alec Pierce. Their specialties or their skill set, I should say, isn't one-to-one the same. So Alec Pierce is going to have his opportunities. And when he does get those opportunities, because the Colts are going to be pushing it down the field, because they have a quarterback that is capable of doing that in Anthony Richardson, Alec Pierce also has to take advantage of those opportunities. He has to come down with those jump balls. He has to make sure he gets open on those deep routes. And then when the ball's coming his way, not only catch it, but then get going, go farther with it. Break some tackles. He also, I think, needs to continue to work on his route running, so he isn't just the deep ball specialist. Because that's where AD Mitchell is going to really eat in on his snaps, more of those nuanced routes and the ability to create separation. That's what Alec Pierce really needs to work on this summer. But just strictly having Anthony Richardson back, it makes this offense more explosive and more vertical, and that's exactly what Alec Pierce needs. We have our first super chat from the CFO, Patrick himself. Thank you so much, buddy, for all of your support every single episode. We can't thank you enough. Hot take: biggest benefit to AR's return, Jim Bob Cooter. That's an interesting one. AR's play will catapult him to a head coaching job in 2025. Drake, what do you think about that? Do you think Jim Bob Cooter could be a head coaching candidate after this season if Anthony Richardson really takes off and this Colts offense becomes like a top 5 unit in the NFL?
So this was one of when me and Noah were our last episode before you returned. 6 bold predictions. This was specifically one of Noah's. Is that he's not going to be with the Colts because he's going to be maybe not even a head coaching job, but he'll just be continuing to get closer to it. But I mean, look, man, this is what happens with good and talented offensive coordinators. And even though he's not calling the plays, 2 things. Steichen hand-selected this guy. Okay. Number 2, he is a wealth of knowledge for a quarterback, wealth of knowledge for the entire offense, and does help Steichen prepare for every single game. So he is crucial to the preparation and the offensive development of the team. If AR goes out there and kicks ass, does something like comeback player of the year, something like that, there's a really good chance that teams, I mean, we've already heard rumors of it coming up. Oh, well, Jim Bob Cooter might be considered for another job or might leave and take an OC position somewhere else to get closer to head coaching. So that doesn't surprise me at all. And don't be surprised if that happens. Again, talented coaches don't stick around very long.
And listen, Drake, you're gonna have to officially change your name. That's where Patrick stole it from, Jake. So we're already calling Drake Jake again. Shout out to Shahid from last episode. And fantastic,
he's like, damn it,
fantastic callback by Patrick there as well. But yeah, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility. That Jim Bob Cooter could be getting some head coaching attention. He last season. Or I thought not last season, but Jim Bob Cooter, I think people don't realize, when he was the offensive coordinator for the Lions all those years ago, he was very, very young to be an offensive coordinator. Jim Bob Cooter is still, I think he's 39 or 40. He's right around that
Pretty
age.
Much all the coaches are under 40.
He's not very old at all. So, if this offense can take that step and Anthony Richardson, not only comeback player of the year, Drake, but if Anthony Richardson goes out there and like we said, like we predicted a couple of weeks ago, or was it the episode that I did come back last week or the week before? Everything runs together now when you're a new dad. Right. But if Anthony Richardson could go out there and get 30 plus touchdowns, 35 plus touchdowns, Jim Bob Cooter is going to be in head coaching interviews. That's just how things are in the NFL. The hot offensive coordinators that have these explosive offenses with these young quarterbacks, they're getting the head coaching opportunities, or at least to opportunity to interview for those head coaching jobs. So wouldn't be surprised at all, especially if this Colts offense really takes off and goes to new heights in 2024. Great question, Patrick. As always, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. Really, really do appreciate it. And now, Drake, finally, our final superlative for the 2024 season, the biggest storyline. What do you think the biggest storyline of the season is going to be, not only when we get to September, but when we look back on the 2024 season? what do you think the biggest story will be?
I think this is when you see Anthony Richardson truly take off. I think it's and honestly, I'll go a step further. It's when you see the Shane Steichen, Anthony Richardson era truly begin. All right, this is something they hired Steichen for Richardson in the hopes that they were going to get him, right? And they brought Richardson in for Steichen. This whole thing was supposed to be a coach quarterback marriage right here. Okay. So when he got hurt, it derailed that whole first season. So it's kind of like with Lawrence and Meyer, obviously not drama, but they didn't really get a chance to blossom in that rookie season and learn kind of how they were expected to. So I think that if Richardson stays healthy, understands his body awareness, and on the Pat McAfee show, Pat McAfee said, you're like 6'5" right now and 255 pounds. Is there something you're doing to, prep? And he goes, oh no, man, that's just me being big. He's just such a funny guy. And he's just such an athletic freak. And so I think that this is when both of those guys just really take off in their respective roles as the head coach, play caller, the quarterback leader, and potentially playoffs. Maybe that's really the storyline we'll be looking back on, his first playoff appearance since Uncle Phil took over the team in 2020.
And I think we would be remiss and we would just be completely wrong if the biggest storyline of the season did not include Anthony Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, it may seem like kind of cliche, or it might not be the most interesting, but guys, if we're being realistic, what do we always say? It's still all about Anthony Richardson, and it will be all about Anthony Richardson for years to come, as long as he is the franchise quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Tim Mario says Colts will average 30 points a game. That's an interesting one. James Crawford, every play for AR will be like going to the candy store. Who do you choose first? Just licking his chops. That's a good one. DSG Goodbar, AR becoming one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So big expectations for number 5 in his second season. Patrick, not the biggest, but the best story. CJ Stroud sacked 7 times over 2 games for talking all of that smack. Fantastic. Yim, Colts end up being what everyone thinks the Texans are. Okay. That's a good one.
The Texans right now, I think CJ Stroud is the top candidate to win the MVP.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. Wyatt Law, a good one. Colts go 13-4 and host Patrick Mahomes and his Chiefs for the AFC Championship. That would be wild. Lucas Oil Stadium would be absolutely.
Remember what happened last time there was a playoff game?
Rocky. Teams? Yep. It was the Andrew Luck comeback, just say it out there. So then here's, before I get to my answer, what the biggest storyline is, we've got another super chat, Drake, from Matthew Sundberg. Matthew, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. Really, really do appreciate it. Matthew, giving us some content idea, 1-to-1 comparisons of each position and position group across the AFC South. Probably would have to be a couple of videos over time. That's an interesting one.
That's actually really awesome.
It's a great content idea. And hey, for the summer months, we're definitely gonna do some different things. We did some positional previews last year. Still planning on doing that, going through the roster for the Colts. But this is a really good one. We could definitely take this into consideration for a preview this summer. Matthew, thank you so much for the super chat. Thanks for the content ideas, buddy. Really, really do.
We can use them right now.
as we get to the dead point of the NFL offseason. Absolutely. But the biggest storyline of the season, Drake, I think it's simply this. Anthony Richardson solidifies himself as the franchise quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, and the curse of looking for a franchise quarterback after Andrew Luck is finally over. I think Anthony Richardson will solidify himself for that. I think he does become one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. And all he has to do is stay healthy. He was on his way to doing that. He had 7 touchdowns in 4 games, and again, you continue to, you look at that, and over the course of, a 16, 17 game season, in his rookie season, he was on pace for almost 30 touchdowns, rushing in and passing, which I don't think CJ Stroud would be getting all the hype that he would be getting if Anthony Richardson also did that last season. So again, Anthony Richardson seems very, very hungry. The Colts have really solidified this team around him. A healthy Jonathan Taylor in the backfield. You get Michael Pittman back. Josh Downs expected to take a leap in year 2. You bring in Adonai Mitchell. You are banking on Jelani Woods also taking a step. You have the same offensive line back. It's a very, very good environment for this young rookie quarterback to continue to learn, continue to grow. And from everything we've seen in the spring, he looks better too. His mechanics look really good. He's getting the football out very quickly. He knows where to go with the football. His processing speed is much better than it was just a year ago. So I think this is the year, guys. I think Anthony Richardson solidifies himself as the Colts franchise quarterback, and we're no longer talking about can the Colts find that quarterback to replace Andrew Luck. I think Anthony Richardson does that this season.
Yeah, and look, the Colts have had enough shaking up at the quarterback position that it's time. It's time. And I think that Anthony Richardson knows he needs to stay healthy. He does not need to play his changing style. He just needs to be more aware. And I think that everything is put in line with him in mind. So everything that's getting steered here is with Anthony Richardson at the top of mind by the whole Colts organization. So, hey, man, if he can hit his stride, look out, because the rest of the team's coming right behind him.
Exactly. So yeah, that was fun, kind of comparing and giving our answers for the superlatives. Thank you to everyone in the chat that gave your answers as well, including Patrick, who's a menace. I see with his last comment. You'll love to see it. Always giving us some good laughs in here. But yeah, so we'll have to look back and see if our predictions for these superlatives end up coming true from the 2024 season. But Drake, let's talk about the latest Colts news and rumors as we wrap up our episode here tonight. And really, there's one big one, because like I said, guys, we're in the downtime of the NFL season, but we got to give this guy some flowers. Number 44, Dallas Clark, will enter the Colts Ring of Honor during the 2024 season. Very well deserved. When you think about those 2000s Colts, and the Peyton Mannings, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, Edgerrin James. You think about those potent offenses. Who was the other guy in that? Dallas Clark, the guy who holds all of the tight end records, really helped revolutionize the tight end position into what it is today. The receiving tight end. Dallas Clark led that revolution. And became more of a de facto slot wide receiver than anything else. Just an absolute mismatch all over the field. And the Colts, Jim Irsay, giving Dallas Clark his flowers, and he will be immortalized with his name up in the Colts Ring of Honor in 2024. Drake, you and I already talked about this earlier off camera. Very well deserved. Dallas Clark deserves to be up there alongside his other teammates from that Colts offense.
Yeah, and when you talk about Dallas Clark, everyone just, especially if you're a Colts fan, you remember all those incredible memories, especially from 2009. I mean, that season he absolutely tore it up. And here's the fun part, is that he was the first tight end, people, in NFL history to catch 100 passes. Okay, and he did that in 2009. Did Tony Gonzalez have more? Am I already wrong? I'm trying to look. I'm looking here. Oh, wait. So, excuse me. Tony Gonzalez had 102 in 2004. Then it was Dallas Clark in 2009. But after that, it's only been Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, Jason Witten, Evan Ingram, and Zach Ertz. Okay. And this isn't just an increasingly pass-heavy NFL. So after arguably the greatest tight end of all time by some people's regards, then you have Dallas Flowers. That's who you're behind as far as, when you set a standard. I mean, he was brought into the league in a day when the tight end was still expected to block. Okay. And Tony Gonzalez was the only other guy in the NFL that really put up volume catching like Dallas Clark did. So he had Peyton Manning, yes, but man, what an electric player. Had over 500 catches, 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns, just well deserving. I'm happy for Dallas Clark, and it's about damn time number 44 gets his name put up in LOS.
One of 8 tight ends to have over 100 catches in a season in NFL history, a former first-round pick, a former Pro Bowler, former first-team All-Pro. Dallas Clark did it all as a member of the Indianapolis Colts. And Wyatt Law says it, Dallas never wore gloves. He was old school. Dallas
had the
Clark,
wrist wraps.
Exactly. He had his fingers taped, but that was it. That was it. Dallas Clark and John Mackey were both revolutionary Colts tight ends, different eras, but both were great. Yeah, props to Dallas Clark. the guy is still, out killing the game. He moved back to Iowa. Now I think he's a farmer now. So Dallas Clark, and every time you see him come on, whether it's like the Pat McAfee show or something, or you see him back in Indy, Dallas Clark always receives a very warm welcome from the Indianapolis Colts faithful, and he's still very welcome back here in Indiana. So love to see it. That's going to be a really fun ceremony to see him go up into the Ring of Honor. And there's still other guys from that era, particularly Bob Sanders. I'm really hoping next season it's Bob Sanders' turn to go up in the Ring of Honor, because Drake, my opinion, that guy deserves it just as much, if not more, than the Dallas Clark. Bob Sanders, I know he wasn't here very long, but man, he was revolutionary and just absolutely changed the game for the Indianapolis Colts when he was here, wearing that number 21. Just kind of like Shaquille Leonard, career cut short by injuries, but at his peak, he was as good as anybody.
Yeah, and I'm not saying they wouldn't have won it without him, but I mean, the Colts were giving up disgusting rushing numbers. All right, going into the playoffs. Enter Bob Sanders again. They win a Super Bowl. All of a sudden, they give up like half the freaking rushing yards. This man was absolutely. That's all I'm going to say. The Colts can probably give props to Bob Sanders for winning their 2006-7 Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely. Yeah. A DSG Goodbar coming in with a fun, we'll call this the Stats Matt stat of the day. Stats Matt is at a fishing tournament all week, fishing trip. That's why he's not here tonight. Ridiculous. But DSG Goodbar says, thanks to the Clark to Manning Manning to Clark connection, Peyton spilled the tea to Brady and it created Brady to Gronk. Hey, you know, Brady copied a lot of things that Peyton Manning did over the years. And I mean, Tom Brady, we haven't seen him in the chat in a long time, so we wonder what the deal is with that. But overall,
Patriots aren't really doing well.
No, Patriots, Buccaneers are so Tom Brady's got some things to figure out. But congrats to Dallas Clark. It's going to be really cool to see him up there in the Ring of Honor. And that's our show for today, guys. Really appreciate everybody tuning in to talk some Colts football with us before mandatory minicamp kicks off tomorrow. Mandatory minicamp goes from Tuesday through Thursday. So when we're back here on Thursday night, we're going to recap everything that happened at mandatory minicamp before the Colts break for the summer. Going to be a lot of fun. But hey, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to our super chats, Truett, Patrick, Matthew, and everybody else who joined us to talk Colts football tonight. We really do appreciate every single one of you. If you haven't done so, please go follow us on all of our socials, like Horseshoe Huddle on Facebook, follow at Colts on FN on X, and subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle YouTube channel. Hit that bell so you know when Drake and I go live every Monday and Thursday night so you never miss an episode. And if you can't catch us live or on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to podcasts, we're on there as well. So make sure you subscribe. Give us a 5-star review so we can reach other Colts fans just like you. Drake, I know you've been writing a lot on horseshoehuddle.com. Got quite a few interesting pieces out there. So tell the people what they need to go check out.
So I because it's a downtime, I've done some aggregate pieces, but I've kind of taken a different spin on them. So the 4 are Michael Pittman Jr. is a top triple threat in the NFL. Keaton Slovis is the most explosive undrafted free agent for the Colts. So go check that one out. I know that
there you go.
I know that Noah Jaber mentioned that one. So go check that
sir.
one out, Noah. Their overall 2024 roster ranks less than favorable by Pro Football Focus. So go check that out. And then I, of course, broke down just why Dallas Clark is more than deserving of his Ring of Honor nomination. Hell of a guy, hell of a player, and hell of a teammate. I am so happy for Dallas Clark. So go check all that out along with the rest of us at Horseshoe Huddle.
Absolutely. Definitely go check those out. Myself, got a piece out, like I said, on Jelani Woods. I put that out on Friday. So, you look at Jelani Woods and he's got a big season ahead of him, kind of a make or break season for Jelani Woods. So dove into how he is feeling ahead of this season, what he feels like he's showing the coaches. Got to hear from Shane Steichen as well, what his opinions on Jelani Woods are, and why Jelani Woods feels like he is finally here. So definitely check that out, as well as everything else we have out there on horseshoehuddle.com. Go follow Drake at DWalsterDrake. You can follow me at Andrew Moore NFL. And like I said, we'll be right back here on Thursday night to recap recap all of mandatory minicamp for you right before the Colts break for the summer. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll get you all the latest information from West 56th Street. So until then, everyone, enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll see you right back here to wrap up mandatory minicamp and talk more Colts football with you on Thursday night. Take it easy, everyone.